Hi, today I'm with Steve Dubin for PR Works. How you doing, Steve?
I am good, Dennis. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Okay, got some questions for you here. What does your business do?
Well, that's a good question. We are a full service public relations firm, which is most often misunderstood. The best example of that is that my daughter, when she's asked by friends what her dad does, she says he mostly takes people to lunch and watches the tennis channel. Well, since then, we've expanded our services a little bit beyond that. And now modern PR really talks about how do we get you in front of the right audiences with the right message on a regular basis. And so that can expand from the traditional of getting you on TV or radio or in print, whether that's newspapers or a niche trade publication, but now it really expands to e-newsletters, e-books, podcasting, speaking engagements, um, pretty much anything you can think of to create awareness, enhance your image, and get someone to take action to get involved with you.
So, what specific programs and services do you offer?
Well, so I've described some of those, but we always start with asking enough questions to make somebody uncomfortable, and then we move on to what have you really done before in marketing, what haven't you done, what have you not really fully invested in marketing, and then claim that it was the marketing channel that didn't work instead of you just didn't put enough time or budget into it. And we typically come up with a strategy that talks about consistency in both message and delivery of message, and really trying to target the low hanging fruit of people who are predisposed to buy from you. And most people are so busy doing their business that they haven't had taken a lot of time to analyze their business, and that's part of step one for us.
And do you have different lengths of programs that people can do?
Right. So um, many clients start with us on a 3-month program, which allows us to build the necessary building blocks and really establish some regularity. So it's typically, an e-newsletter, a couple news releases, some media contact. We start looking at other channels, social media, improving their website. Um, and we tend to put together a spreadsheet that makes it very easy for people to follow. So there's accountability on both sides. That most people are challenged not only by being overwhelmed by choices in marketing, but they don't really have some consistent, capable set of hands to get it done. So we try to come up with both good ideas, compelling ideas, and then get them out and make sure that they don't get stuck in a bottleneck.
Now, what types of clients do you have now?
Question. Um, we really like clients that have unusual stories to tell, but they're not quite sure who to tell them to or how to synthesize that in a quick pitch letter. So examples of that would be our client's New England burial at sea, or boot camp for new dads, or infant massage therapy. Um, and so we take those messages that are sort of ready made for the press and make sure we get them to the right people. And usually the press is delighted to have stories that are fun and interesting. But we also deal with a lot of green / environmental clients. We do a fair amount of work with senior healthcare, which is prominent as you and I go whiter and grayer every day. And we do a lot with commercial real estate.
Now, who are your ideal clients?
So, right, good question. I think the ideal client goes beyond the niche. So I've given you some of the niches that we work in, but we're also looking for some characteristics of the organization itself. So they're willing to take risks. They're willing to be open-minded. Um, they understand the value of reaching out to the public and being visible. And they tend to be mid-sized companies. So they tend to be about 500,000 to 15 million or so in gross revenues per year. So they're large enough where they're having some success and they know they need to compete, but they're not so large where they have an internal marketing communications department and they really need somebody to drive the bus and to know where the bus should be going.
It seems like when you talk about that, you have others that the not typical clients. It seems like you work best out of the box, don't you?
Well, we do. So we like coming up with really interesting grassroots programs. And so grassroots to me means that it is also referred to as guerrilla marketing. So it is really creative programs that take a little bit more thought, a little bit more effort, but they cost far less than buying advertising and hoping for some results. So buying advertising can be a very expensive learning curve. Grassroots marketing typically will give you a result fairly quickly. You know whether it's going to work or not, and it's far less expensive. So as an example, we have a dentist who reached out to us and said, I really want to do something that makes me the guy in my region. And I'm not quite sure what that is, but I know it's out there somewhere. And so I said, one of the things that we need to explore is can we have, can we make your office a roadside attraction? So when people drive by, they say, I've got to look at that new icon outside of his office. So if you think of the big blue bug on Route 95 in Providence, they they put on lights for Christmas. They dress them up as the Easter Bunny around Easter. There's banners on the bug for supporting nonprofits. It is something that you're willing to risk your life and your safety to look to the right as you go by because it's just fun. And so now we're talking about doing potentially a giant tooth sculpture or an oversized tooth balloon that we tether to his roof, or some kind of smile sculpture that we can put out front, and we can light it, we can dress it, we can put messages on it. And you'd think that a dentist might somewhat frown and scratch their head when they're approached by their marketing company with that idea. And as a good dentist, he smiled.
That's a good line too.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, great. Now, other than that story, what's your most rewarding client moment or issue that you solved?
Well, so we like, I guess what we really like is when we're able to get major coverage. So, as I mentioned before, Boot Camp for New Dads, it's a program that's in over 400 hospitals across the world. Um, and it brings together guys who are about to have their first baby with a guy who recently had their baby, and they bring their baby with them as the stunt baby. And then they have an experienced dad who's called a drool sergeant. Um, and and it's sort of ready made for great coverage, right? And so we came up with a program for them to roll out extra publicity around Father's Day when everyone was looking for an aw shucks kind of story. And I personally ended up on CNN, Good Morning America, the Gail King Show, and it became a real bonanza for us and for them that they were really seen as the authority on fatherhood in especially the U.S.
All right, I have to ask, how'd you get on CNN and all those shows?
Well, so it was just a good pitch letter. We're able to, TV is really based on having great visuals. So we were able to bring them into a classroom with their cameras, get sign offs, obviously, from the dads. and be able to create a segment that really worked for them. The irony is that when Good Morning America was visiting South Shore Hospital, and I was helping with that segment, all the fire alarms went off, and they wanted to evacuate the building, and 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 the producer ran into the hallway screaming, "Do you know who I am? Stop this." So
Okay, all right, we're sorry.
it was a great network TV moment, and people just laughed harder than you are right now.
Wow.
And eventually, actually, fairly shortly, quickly thereafter, the alarms were off, and we went back to taking the segment, and it was a great win. And yeah, I mean, most of the time, I mean, we know we have a lot of contacts in the press, so it's easier for us to reach out and have a conversation. But those those contacts are only bolstered by me only reaching out with a story that makes sense to their audience, and that is a win-win for everyone. So most of the time, it's how well do we come up with ideas? How well do we fit ideas to media channels?
So, what makes your business unique besides a lot of the things you've been telling?
Well, what makes us somewhat unique is that um, I have three full-time people who work with me. We're all former journalists, so we really understand storytelling. We really understand the importance of the details and the accuracy of the story. Um, and we are all based in the suburbs south of Boston. So our advantages are that for clients, they're able to have really seasoned, um, experienced people work on their account at far less than they would pay if they went to an urban agency in Boston or Providence or New York.
Now, how long you guys been in business?
We actually are celebrating our 30th year.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you bring that to the table as well. You've seen it all.
Well, I mean, I guess literally, I was in the newsroom when they first brought in computers. When I first got there, we were literally pounding on typewriters.
That's cool.
So I transitioned into computers, and now obviously much of marketing is digital, and we have been able to transform into that world as well of making sure that our clients have a very good digital presence, and they can be found online, and they can be found online as the answer and the resource.
Now, how can people learn more about you?
Best thing to do is to go to our website, which is prworkzone.com.
Very good. Very good. And so, any final thoughts you have?
No, one of the things that we're working on right now is I'm pulling together a whole primer on how to pivot from post COVID-19 and how to come out hitting the ground running with a good, solid plan and good, actionable items that you want to not have any delays in recovering the revenue that you lost. And
Great.
and the way
That's
to
going to
do
help
that
so
is
many people.
yeah, I mean the way to do that is to have an aggressive yet sensible marketing plan.
Great. Steve, it was a pleasure talking to you today, and best of luck with everything you do.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
For more information on PR Works, visit their website, prworkzone.com. Check out all what they have to offer. And if you want to contact them, click on Contact Us, fill out the form, it'll go directly to them, or contact Steve Dubin at 781-582-1061, or you can email him directly, sdubin@prworkzone.com.